Welcome to our Pirate Television studio, where after a week off, we're back. So what happened in this past week of sports? Well, let's begin with the women's soccer team, who are in their first Big East victory of the season with a 1-0 victory over Marquette last Thursday, which also gave second-year head coach Rick Staten his first conference victory while leading the blue and white. Since then, the ladies have dropped a 1-0 decision at DePaul and take on the Creighton Blue Jays Thursday night at home. As for the men's soccer team, when they squared off with Princeton for a brief break in their Big East play, 2 goals in the first half were not enough to top the Tigers, who had the final say with a 56th minute goal for a final of 3-2, which leaves the men still looking for their first victory of the season. We'll see if they can steal one on the road when they take on Marquette. And finally, for volleyball, the ladies swept DePaul on Friday night at Walsh, but have been on a 2-match skid since then, being swept by Marquette the following day at home and then following in 5 sets at Providence. We will look into the weekend ahead and take a glance at both basketball teams after their blue and white scrimmage. Stay tuned as we'll be back with more. This is Hall Talk.
This team needs to show me something for me to believe that they're going to make a run in the tournament.
I think they can have a chance of going over 35 wins without a problem.
Just stepping up from the 4 points to the 17. She's just dropping threes like there's no tomorrow.
But chemistry is an underrated key in college basketball.
That was by far the best game I've seen them play.
This is Hall Talk, and that's how the chalk talks.
Welcome back to our Pirate Television studios right here on the campus of Seton Hall University. I'm George Balekji. My panel tonight, Olivia, Mulvihill, and Ross. Guys, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us. It's great to be back.
Thank you, George.
Of course, a week off, I think it was a little too long for everyone. But you know, the good part about that is we have all the sports to talk about. And of course, we'll talk about, I touched up on them, both the men's and soccer team. First, we'll start with the men's. 0-8-1 on the season, still looking for their first victory. At first, it seemed their scoring was a problem. Then it seems like their defense is a problem at goaltending. What can this team do? I think simply just to look for a win, regardless of turn the season around, just to get that one dub that they need.
Really, they just need to keep a positive attitude. Honestly, it's still a lack of goal scoring, obviously. That's why they haven't won a game. But they're playing tough games. St. John's, just recently, it was only a 1-0 loss. And they're a wall in the defense that game. I was going to say Spindler was crushing it. He was getting highlight after highlight, making saves off free kicks. Then they just St. John's let them get into their head a little bit, and then it was just a lapse in the defense. Spindler went out to make a save off a free kick, and he mispunched it, went straight down to the feet of St. John's players, easy tap in. That's why they lost 1-0. Other than that, they just need to score goals and keep a positive mindset going through in Big East play.
Yeah, like Aaron said, they've played some tough teams so far. If you look at their Creighton game, who is the #1 team in the country right now, they were leading at one point. So what this team needs to do is really just focus when they're playing and finish strong. They can't keep relying on players like Sam Geiler and Danny Bartok to keep scoring. You know, more players are going to have to come out there and show what they have and show what this team needs to do in order to get a win. Hope they can do it this weekend.
I actually really like her bringing up that Creighton game as well. It's like how we said before a couple weeks ago. That was the big matchup coming in. I expected them to play well, and sure enough, they were up 2-1 with just 10 minutes left in the game, which I thought they could have pulled that out. And again, it was the last 10 minutes they let up 3 goals. It's another lapse that they had in the defensive end.
Is it that easy? Is it as easy said as done, just to turn to keep that positive attitude?
You just got to hope. You just keep it going for 90 minutes, and they just haven't put 90 minutes together yet.
Yeah, they can't keep the hustle going. You know, when they're up, and when they're down, they can't get back up. So what this team needs to do against a team like Marquette this weekend, who is kind of on the same page they are at the bottom of the Big East, they're going to have to come out strong in the beginning and just keep that up through the end. They can't let a goal get to their head, and they're just going to have to keep finishing strong.
I think the perfect example for this team, you look at the women's soccer team, how their head coach got his first Big East victory was on an own goal. Yeah. Amanda Gully put it in play, went off a Marquette defender to get a win.
It was a beautiful ball put in. I mean, there was potential for someone to actually come in and tap it in. It was put in a perfect spot. And that's what happens. You know, she's the one leading with 3 goals this season, and that's the thing. They haven't scored much either. Only 7 goals total in the season. There's players out in the country that have 7 goals on their own. We only have 7 as a team. Well, like you said.
What I like to point out on, if you talk about the women's team, is that the biggest change to me comes in goal for them, and that's in Elisa Blackshear. She's finally back. And what is this, her 4th straight start that she's had, and her 5th game she's played in as well. Aaron, you were talking about it before the show, how big of a turnaround, how big of an impact she has on this team.
Although we've still only have 2 wins for the women this year, she's been such an impact. They were losing games 4-1, 5-1, 4-0. Now they're only losing games 1-0. Going into overtime in half these games, she's got 2 shutouts in 4 of her starts. And when she came in the 20th minute of that first game as a sub, they had already let up a goal. They lost that game 1-0. and she blanked the team the rest of the way. So she has been a key player for this team this year.
Yeah, 14 saves this weekend, named Big East Goalie of the Week. She's really putting it out there for the Pirates. We touched on Amanda Gully earlier. She's the one that's really leading this team. It seems like for this weekend, it's going to be Amanda Gully and Alyssa Blackshear's team. So that's what they're going to have to do. You know, Blackshear's going to have to keep getting the saves, see if she can record more saves this week, and Amanda Gully's just going to have to keep things controlled in the box again.
She's exactly right.
All right, so, I mean, we talk all the fall sports right now. It's the month of October. We're already going to start talking basketball.
We're getting close.
So sit down and be prepared for this one.
Upon us.
We had a good preview. Men's and women's team, both this past Saturday, they had their blue-white scrimmage. And you saw a group of sophomores, Kadeen Carrington, Desi Rodriguez, Angel Delgado, and of course, Isaiah Whitehead. Exactly.
Yep.
And you see what they can do for the men's team. First, we'll start with the women's team, because to me, they're going to have the bigger transition. No more Didi, no more Daisha, no more Janae, no more Chizzy. You know what you're going to get from Tab. You know what you're going to get from Tiff Jones. I'll start with Libertia Gordon at the 5. She's going to replace Chizzy. Does she have enough? Do you think she can get it done there, Olivia?
I think she has enough. She has the height. She comes in at, like, what, 6'4"? She has the height. She's just going to need to, you know, focus on her shooting and make sure that she's a consistent player. Bazell always focuses on the team's consistency. You know, when they're playing consistent, when everyone's getting their shots, then they're playing well as a team. It's going to be a lot different this year because, like you said, whole starters are gone from last year. But I think with Alicia Powell coming in, you know, stepping in as a senior, you know, T.T. Smith, who Bazella loves, I think that this team, it's going to be a rough start, but Bazella is the type of coach that is going to get them to where they were last year, I think. But it is going to be rough.
I mean, like you said, you got to mention Bazella in that. He's a player's coach. He's coming in. He's still technically, in a way, a new coach here in the system, and really is taking the team on, and they love him around here. Everyone loves him around here in South Orange, and he turned a team from a losing record into a NCAA tournament team. I don't know how you can do that in such short notice, but it's really this year for the team, it's a look at who's going to be the leader. I mean, you got Tabs, but they lost so much leaders having 5 seniors. It's crazy.
Now, you want to talk about how Coach B wants to get them back to where they were. The only way he could look at this season as a success is if he gets them one step forward, and that would have to be a win in the national tournament. You know what he'll get from Tab. Is there anyone you see outside of her being the scorer for this team?
I think Tiffany Jones. I mean, she didn't start right away last year, but when she came in big for the Pirates, and, you know, maybe she was kind of like in the shadow of Didi and Deja since that was really their year last year. But I think this year is her year, especially as a senior. I think she's going to come in, you know, she's a talented shooter, she's got the height on her, so I'm excited to see what she can bring to this team.
I agree with her completely. Tiffany Jones is going to be the one, like you said, she was in the shadows, but she's got size, unlike a lot of players in the women's basketball, but she can also shoot from outside, so she can be an inside and outside player. So really, you can get the best of both worlds from her.
Now, real quick, we'll look now at the men's team. It was essentially looked like a glorified all-star game because there's minimal defense. You don't want anyone to get hurt. These guys are throwing alley-oops off the backboard to themselves. I think primarily, I'll start with Isaiah Whitehead, how great he looked. And Coach Willard's talked about in preseason. He's confident now. He doesn't care about the foot. That's in the past. All of last season's back there. Do you see the sophomore to have the season of expectations that come with a McDonald's All-American?
I see him actually having the season we wanted him to have. I mean, he started off last year in non-conference play. He was turning it on. He was lights out. That Wichita State game, for instance, when he got hurt, he had 20-something points at halftime. 18 points at halftime, and he resulted in 25 total in the game against a top 10 team in the country. He's capable of doing anything, I think, right now, especially with that backcourt, him and Kadeen. It's a young team still, but I think overall they're going to get along well this year, and it's going to look good.
Yeah, and I think that their attitudes have all changed. They're used to playing, and, you know, if you see them around on campus, they just seem kind of more calm. They don't have these crazy expectations on them anymore, coming in as like the huge freshman recruiting class. So I think what we're going to see from them is just, you know, coming out big. You know, they got some good freshmen coming in. Dalton Sofer hit, you know, 2 for 3 threes, the blue and white scrimmage, and they were like beautiful threes. So I feel like what we're going to see from them, hopefully they can like lead the freshmen, as, you know, the freshmen last year kind of weren't really led. You know, there was more drama. So hopefully this year there'll be less drama and just more talent coming from all of them.
The expectations that come with the talent. Do you guys see this team being a tournament team right now?
100% yes.
I think so.
I like to look at it as the new freshmen coming in are going to increase the value of this team too. Not just the sophomores that we have, because it was a good class we had last year. I like Miles Carter coming in this year. Him and Angel are going to be a duo and monsters down low, ripping down the boards, especially in the defensive end, which is really what we need to stop, because there's no shortage of scoring in this team. We can do it. That's a fact. Isaiah's lights out shooting. Kadeen's shooting's getting better. We've got the players that can score, and Delgado especially down low. But adding Miles Carter, that's going to be big.
And of course, you want to talk about the front court. Don't forget about Braden Anderson, probably the only Division I athlete juggling Division I athletics
and law school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll end this off
Props to
quick
him.
with a prediction going into the weekend. Women's volleyball home and homestand versus Xavier and versus Butler. They dropped 2 in a row at home. Like I said, they didn't lose. They haven't lost a set in 6 straight until they dropped and got swept by Marquette. What do they have to do to turn around? Because they have the unique aspect. They played Butler first, who got swept by Xavier. What is happening here? Who needs to step up for the ladies?
I think Danny Schroeder has to step up. She was such a big component to this team when they first started, but when you're coming into games like at Providence and you only have about 8 kills when a freshman like Sharice Hannigan has upwards of 20, that's saying something. You know, the freshmen have really stepped up. Sophia Coffey with 35 assists against Providence, you know, back to Sharice, you know, upwards of like 20 kills every game. You know, it's players like Danny Schroeder and, you know, Tessa still has to step up too. This team really fell apart against Marquette defensively, so they really need to bring this defense this weekend against Butler and a team like Xavier.
It's just, again, it's a team. It's a young team. They're still learning what it's like to play at the collegiate level. We still need an emergence of a leader from Tessa. But like you said, Danny Schroeder, and I want to go back to that Marquette game. She had just 5 kills and 4 digs in that game. Other than that, her stat line was basically a bunch of zeros. And unless it's an ERA in baseball, it ain't good. And then you want to go and you want to look at Taylor Lewis on Marquette in that game. She had 16 kills herself, 8 digs, 3 blocks. She was all over the place. She really shut down her and Amanda Hansen.
Yeah, talking with assistant coach Allie Matters between the second and third set, she said herself it's a falter of Sophia Coffey and the disappearance of Danny Schroeder as well. Abby Bessler, she's third in the conference with kills. What you just mentioned, Taylor Lewis is first, so another big test they have for them as well. So what do you see? Is there a way they can step up and really take care of the net? Because they are an undersized team with youth as well.
They're undersized. It's really just Hansen that's really that tall person up there. But it's just learning, getting a feel for the game, really playing against bigger opponents, and just getting that mindset where, hey, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to beat you, and you're going to make the other team be afraid to come to Walsh Gym, which I think they do still have a good home atmosphere.
After this weekend, what do you see the record being? 2-0, 1-1, 0-2?
I'm going to say 1-1 just because Xavier is, you know, they just swept Butler. So I think it'll be hard for them, especially if they're not playing consistently. Allie Yeager says after every game, we need to be consistent. And if they're not consistent against a team like Xavier, then, you know, they're going to fall to Xavier. But Butler, you know, their record's still kind of low. They're kind of low in the Big East. So I think that we have a good chance against Butler. So I'm staying at 1-1.
I think we had a good chance of coming out 2-0. That Xavier game, like you said, that's going to be the big matchup. They came in last year and knocked us off. When we were a top-notch team, we had 12 wins in a row and beat us in our home gym. And it's like you said, consistency is really the key with this team. They're still getting the feel for it. I think there's a very good chance that they could come out 2-0, though.
I like
But that Xavier game, it's going to be a big dogfight to the end.
Yeah. One thing with Xavier's 4-1 in the conference. They're lucky they're not playing them Hinkle Fieldhouse. They got their first right here at Walsh.
Exactly right.
All right, guys, thank you so much. This episode was enjoyed like always.
Absolute pleasure.
Aaron Ross, Olivia Mulvihill. For everyone back home, I'm George Balekji. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to tune in at the same time next week. We'll be right back here with more Hall Talk.